What if I told you the most improved player in the NBA this season isn't a headline name? Not a lottery pick, not an all-star leap, but a player most fans didn't even realize was in the league a year ago. Colin Gillespie. Over his first two NBA seasons, Gillespie scored just 280 total points. He was buried on depth charts, used sparingly, and often reduced to late-game minutes when the outcome was already decided. In Denver, he was essentially a developmental piece. In Phoenix last season, despite a clear need for a true point guard, he didn't even see the floor for the first 40 games. Fast forward to now, and the story has completely flipped. Halfway through this season, Gillespie has already crossed 400 points, is playing real rotation minutes, and has quietly become one of the most impactful value players in the entire league. The number 12 isn't just surviving anymore. He's controlling games. And this isn't a fluke. When a team moves on from a superstar and somehow looks more organized, more connected, and more dangerous, people start asking questions. One of the answers is simple. They finally have a point guard who fits. Gillespie is averaging nearly 14 points per game, over 5 assists, and is knocking down 40% plus of his threes on real volume, all while playing on a one-year minimum contract. Production like that doesn't just beat expectations, it obliterates them. The foundation of it all is shooting. Gillespie is a legitimate three-level shooter from beyond the arc. Off movement, off the dribble, on the catch, coming off screens. Defenses can't relax when he's on the floor, and that gravity changes everything. The spacing he creates unlocks driving lanes, keeps help defenders honest, and opens up playmaking reads that simply didn't exist before. For an undersized point guard, that skill isn't just valuable, it's essential. And right now, Colin Gillespie is maximizing every ounce of it. This didn't come out of nowhere, and it definitely isn't accidental. The most important part of Colin Gillespie's shooting isn't just that he makes threes, it's how he makes them. Specifically, it's the pull-up shooting. All season long, defenses have made a clear choice when Gillespie comes off a screen. They go under. Teams are daring him to beat them from deep, staying back instead of pressing up at the level. And time after time, Gillespie has punished that coverage. We've seen it against elite defenses. One clean example comes against Oklahoma City. Mark Williams steps up to set the screen. The defender backtracks just enough to protect the drive, and Gillespie doesn't hesitate. He rises straight into the pull-up three and knocks it down. No extra dribbles, no second guessing. Just a read and a release. That confidence matters. Gillespie isn't a shooter who needs his feet perfectly set or a play drawn specifically for him. He's comfortable pulling up well beyond the arc, even in transition. When defenders duck under screens, he doesn't reset the offense. He ends the possession. We've seen him pull from near 30 feet when teams try to cheat the coverage, and that range alone forces defenses to stretch higher than they want to. And once that happens, everything else opens up, because the real value of his shooting isn't the points, it's the gravity. When defenses stay attached to Gillespie, it creates passing windows that simply aren't there for most guards. We've seen this repeatedly with Phoenix. Oso sets the screen. Both defenders stick with Gillespie to take away the shot, and that single moment of hesitation is all he needs. He keeps his dribble alive, waits for the big to roll, and drops the ball right into space for an easy finish. This is a staple action. Phoenix has run variations of this for years. We've seen it with Devin Booker. We've seen similar concepts dominate the league for over a decade. A pin down into a quick decision. Catch, read, react. If there's space, shoot it. If the defense collapses, punish it with the pass. And Gillespie thrives in those situations. While he's officially listed as a point guard, his role often looks more like a shooting guard, especially when Devin Booker is initiating the offense. That's what makes Gillespie's off-ball playmaking so valuable. Even without dominating the ball, he's still influencing the defense, still bending coverages, and still creating advantages. That ability is crucial when playing next to a high-usage star. It allows the offense to stay fluid instead of stagnant, and it keeps the defense in constant decision-making mode. And for Suns fans wondering if this shooting surge is sustainable, the data says it is. Gillespie was nearly a 39% three-point shooter over 5 college seasons, including 41% in his final year. Even in limited NBA minutes before this season, his shooting numbers remained steady. The skill was always there. What teams underestimated was everything else: the reads, the toughness, the confidence to take big shots without hesitation. Which brings us to that moment earlier this season. Phoenix on the road, tight game, fourth quarter, Booker out, one of the league's best teams on the other side. And when the game needed a closer, it wasn't the obvious names. It was Gillespie. He starts with the easy one, a clean swing pass and a rhythm three. Then comes the switch. He sees the matchup, creates space, and drills a step back right in the defender's face. And then he does it again, running the offense, controlling the pace, making the right reads. That's when respect changes. And it's why players around the league are starting to take notice, because this isn't just shooting, it's command. Gillespie threads that pass into Oso, right into his spot, and the possession is over before the defense can recover. But what matters more than the assist itself is what happens next. Look at the pressure. McDaniels and DiVincenzo both crowd him immediately, bodying him up, reaching, trying to force either a turnover or the ball out of his hands. That level of attention doesn't happen by accident. That's respect. That's a defense deciding that this is the player they can't let beat them. And Gillespie handles it perfectly. He briefly loses control, recovers, keeps his composure, and finds Goodwin cutting downhill for a clean finish. No panic, no rushed decision, just a guard reading the floor under pressure. This all happened on the road, without Devin Booker, against one of the best teams in the league. A 6'1" undrafted guard who at this exact point last season wasn't even trusted with garbage time minutes, just closed out the Minnesota Timberwolves. If that doesn't define improvement, it's hard to say what does. And it all traces back to the same foundation: shooting. Elite three-point shooting forces defenses to react early. It stretches coverage, it creates mistakes, and for Gillespie, it's the reason everything else in his game works. That said, this isn't a fairy tale where suddenly every part of his offensive package is flawless. Gillespie is not an elite finisher at the rim. Given his size, his athletic profile, and the physicality of NBA defenders, that's a difficult battle for him to win consistently. You might have seen a highlight here or there that suggests otherwise, but over a large sample, finishing inside remains the weakest area of his game. The difference is that he understands that. Instead of forcing shots at the rim, Gillespie has built an in-between game that fits his skill set perfectly. Alongside the three-point shooting, he's developed a reliable mid-range pull-up. When defenders drop back to protect the drive, he doesn't barrel into traffic. He stops, rises, and takes the space that's given. Once again, screens are the key. When bigs don't step up high enough, Gillespie punishes them with the pull-up jumper. And when defenders try to crowd him, he's comfortable going into his bag. A handoff into a quick change of direction, a behind the back to create separation, a hesitation to freeze the defender, then the jumper. It's controlled, it's efficient, and it's sustainable. Like any effective undersized guard, Gillespie doesn't rely on one elite skill. He relies on being solid at almost everything. Playmaking is another area where his growth stands out. While he isn't running the offense in a traditional sense, especially with Booker handling so much of the initiation, he's exceptional at creating on the move. Whether it's off a catch, a dribble handoff, or a quick pick and roll, Gillespie consistently makes the right read. A slight hesitation is often all he needs to shift the defense before slipping a pass to a rolling big for an easy finish. And this is where the projection becomes exciting. This is effectively his first real NBA season. Yes, he's 26, but experience at this level still matters. Reads get faster, timing improves, confidence compounds, and with every passing month, Gillespie looks more comfortable, more decisive, and more impactful. For a player making roughly $2 million who wasn't playing at all a year ago, this isn't just improvement, it's transformation. And that's why, when you step back and look at the full picture, this isn't just one of the best value stories in the league. It's one of the best stories in basketball.